do the extra credit portion, we're going to come to this last item here. Open it up. A little bit of instructions there, but there's a link to the Google Sheets template. I completed it myself because I had to make sure I knew what I was doing. So if you want to check at the end, you can pull this up. It has all the formulas in there and such. But what we're going to do together is go through this. My suggestion is probably not try to do it at the same time I'm talking about it, so that you can just kind of watch it. Remember, I am recording it at the same time. Um, and there's a few very technical things. You've got to put commas and stuff in the right place. So that's what you'll be able to follow along with the video. If you want to follow along, you're also welcome. And then we'll go through this. So the first step is to open up the link to the Google Sheets. So if you click on this, I've actually already done that. So I've got it open. It'll open up in a new window. So this is, and what you see in this Google Sheets is all the data, the screen time and minutes that we examined in the lecture part. That data has already been entered in. Typically, that would be the first step you do when you have a blank sheet, is you would enter that in. And typically, a blank sheet's not going to have these, but I wanted to put these in here as sort of a template to anytime you make a frequency chart. These are sort of the general things you're going to need to do. But as I said, we're going to use technology rather than us searching for particular pieces of data. So first start is, oh, before I do any, I always forget this part. What you want to do is, you actually won't be able to edit this because I only gave myself permission. I can edit it. I don't want to. What you want to do is you want to make a copy of this. I think it's file, make a copy. So you'll make a copy, and it'll say copy of data for frequency table. If you want to change this a little bit, maybe put your name on it, you can. What you're going to do is when you're done, it saves as you go. So that's the nice part. If you lose internet access, whatever you've started is saved. It'll be saved at the end. And at the very end, what you're going to do is you're going to go to share, and you're going to copy a link, and that's what you will upload in the assignment. Okay. And then that just shows me that you've completed it, and you get your extra credit. Okay, so make a copy. We do that. You can rename it. Notice it opens up a new thing. Again, for you, you wouldn't be able to edit it anyway. Okay, so first thing I want to complete this table. I want to know what in fact, actually, let's, I want to make this bigger so it's easier to see. How do I see? Here we go. Yeah. So I'm doing a Command plus on a Mac. That a little bit better? Easier to see. A lot of things will appear in this little formula bar of what we're doing. So I click on this cell. That's where I want to put it. What I want to do is I want it to find the minimum. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to insert a function. So in here, that's all functions. And the function I want it to find the minimum. So the way a minimum works is I have to give it all the values I want it to search. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my data. I'm going to click on my data. So I click on the first one, and I'm clicking and holding, and I just drag down, and I say, look at all these numbers. Not there. And find the minimum value. So I do that, and I just hit enter. It auto-filled. I don't want to autofill, so I do that, and it found the minimum was 155. Remember, when we looked at all that data, that is the smallest one. I wanted to find the maximum. Very similar. I go to Insert, except now, when I go to Functions, I wanted to find the maximum. And again, I select my data. And notice it's going to go from cell A2 to cell A31. So that's 30 pieces of data. Enter. kind of like, so 405, that's what we came up with when we looked at the data as well. Then remember, how do I get my range? Big minus the small, max minus the min. So this time I don't really have a special, I don't know if there's a function for it or not, but anyway, I'll just do it this way. I'm just going to do the equal sign. As soon as I put in equals, Google Sheets knows I'm going to put in a formula. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on the maximum. What that does is it takes the value from that cell. So if that cell value changes, so will this. So this is a nice way of doing formulas and templates. So I'm going to take that cell and I'm going to subtract from it the minimum. So C5 minus C4, put it in there, and it comes up with the 250 that we got. Okay, cool. Number of class sizes, that was given to us. They wanted 7 classes. So we'll just put that in there because it's going to be needed. So sometimes you're just entering things into the table. And then the bin size. Remember how we calculated bin size? How did we do it? We took the range, right, divided by the number of classes, and then we round it up. So the way we can do that is we do equals. Now, I'm not going to go to the insert because there's so many functions in here, we could search all over, but this is something I Googled. There's a function called round up. Round will like if it's halfway up, it'll round or it might round down, but round up always rounds up to the next one. So I'm just going to type round up, and it tells me if it was not a function, it wouldn't be there, but it does tell me rounds up to a number. Okay, so that's what I want, and it tells me I need to put in my values. So what the value I want it to round up is I want it to take the range of 250, and I want it to divide it by 7. So it's actually going to do that calculation for me. And then I have to tell it how many places I want it to round up to. But we want it to be an integer value, right? So I want to round with 0 decimal places. So I just put 0. Put a parentheses, and it did it, 36. So I didn't even have to see that it was 35.71, and then, man, it rounds up for me. Okay, so that will take care of it. Just remember, round up. So far, so good? Now this is a little, well, we'll just go through this. It's not so bad. So lower class limit, remember what did we use for the lowest of the lowest class limits? The minimum, right? So we'll just start with this one. Oops. I need to put the equals. So whenever you have an equals, it knows you're going to do something. You're going to maybe even So I reference this cell, and I'm not going to do any calculation with it. We're just going to use it. Again, if I ever updated this minimum, maybe I changed the data, this would get updated along with it. So that's the nice thing is these spreadsheets are interactive. How do I get the next class level? Exactly. So I'm going to take this lower class limit, and again, I just click on it. So whatever's there, if I update it, made a mistake or something, and I'm going to add 36, but I'm not going to type in 36 because that might get updated. So I'm going to come over here and say, add the bin size. So again, if I change my data, then this is all good. One thing I want to show you though is I don't want to have to type this in all the time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this down. But when you copy a formula, it changes it will also copy, like if you go down, then it starts referring to a cell a little bit lower. I always wanted to refer to cell C8. So the way to do that is if you put a $ in front, it now won't change the 8 when I go to copy down. And so I could put one in front of the C as well, but I'm not going to go sideways. So, but I'll do that. I wanted to always add what's in C8. And so the way to say that, don't change that address on me, put $ on both sides. Okay, hit enter. 155 plus 36 is 191. And now I'm going to come down to this where there's that dot in the left corner, when I see this little plus sign with the red, I click and I copy down. But I want to keep going. I'm all the way down. I didn't want to go that far, so I'll just delete that last one. But I can copy it down, and so I didn't have to keep retyping. That's the nice thing about these when you set them up. Questions on that? Okay. How did I get the class limit for the upper side? But before, well, I will also add the 36, but to get the first one, I have to figure out some way to disconnect my phone from my computer. To get the first one, what do? Remember, I subtract one from this one, right? So I take this one minus one, and I could actually do that for each of these. I could copy this down, or I could also say, take this upper class one and then add the bin size either way. So again, there's more than one way to set these things up, but the calculation's the same. So I'm now adding 36 to each of these, and I have my class sizes. Okay. Again, you'll be able to watch through and just do it. And then, okay, once you've done it once, it's going to help you when we get down the road, and because you'll be very proficient at these, and it will help you potentially in a class where maybe you have to do a report, come up with these, and you'll see how you can make these pretty easily. Okay, we're doing great. Class midpoints. Now I did it in slightly different order, but class midpoints. How do we calculate the midpoint of the class? Lower, the upper. Do I add? Do I subtract? I add them. So add the two endpoints, divide by 2. So again, I'm going to go equals the upper or the lower. Since you're adding, order doesn't matter. Now, what does matter, if I divide by 2 right now, I'll probably it won't be correct, right? I'll do that. Divide by 2. Oh, 267. And sometimes they autofill. I don't want it to autofill. The problem is I need an order of operations. I need a parentheses around the addition. I need to make sure it adds first and then divides the whole thing by 2. So sometimes, again, you still have to check on things and make sure, yeah, now that's halfway between. And again, I don't have to type that each time. I just drag this and copy it down. And there's all my midpoints. And you're going to see this really helps when we go to, because with a few clicks, we're going to make a really beautiful frequency histogram and even a pie chart. Okay, this is the most complicated part, is getting the frequencies. But it's not that bad. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, go and look for every number that's bigger than 155 or bigger, but less than or equal to 190, and tell me how many there are. And there's a feature that does that. And again, you'll have to remember this. This one I also had to look up. There's something called count if, and then we're going to go with S because it's a plural. We're looking up at 2 things. We want it greater than a number, but less than another. Again, I had to look it up on Google, and somebody made a nice little video, showed me how to do this, because I didn't know. I've done it greater than, I've done it less than, but I never did something between 2. But 20 minutes later, I was an expert. Okay. So, and then once you do that, you just say, okay, that's what we want to use. It starts to tell you what you need to put in there. So we need criteria range. That's the range, is what is your data. So again, that's the easy part. You just come to your data, and you select it all. Just your data. I think I can hit enter. Oops, maybe not. It's not finished, so don't hit enter. But you come back to it. That's not a big deal. Now it wants the criteria. The criteria is we want it to be large, 155 or larger, and 190 or smaller. So what we do, and this is the part, is the coding. So we have to put a quote mark Just this is how it works. And we want the number to be less than, so we put a less than or equal to, so that's less than or equal to, sorry, we want it to be greater than or equal to. Even when you've got technology, there's still many ways you can make mistakes. Greater than or equal to 155, right? Comma. Now we want criteria 2, but we also need the range because maybe that's going to be different. But for us, it's going to be the same range, but we have to select it again. So I come over here. This is my range for criteria 2. Again, I'm not going to hit enter. I'm going to come back. Oops, what happened? Oh. Okay, what did I? Oh, I have to put a quote. So I have to put greater than or equal to 155 has to be in quotes. Okay. That's how it does it. Then I arrow over just one. Let's see. I put criteria 2. Now it'll work. There we go. So A2 to A31. I put a comma, and now I put the criteria. We also want, for those numbers, we want it to be less than or equal to 90. So this is parentheses, less than or equal to 190. And the reason I'm putting in the actual values is because it's in quotes. If you put the reference to the cell, it doesn't work. I tried for about half an hour. I tried to make it work. It won't work. And I realized, oh, because it's in quotes, it has to actually be a number. So that's the only way it'll work. I've got an extra set of parentheses here that I don't want, so I've got parentheses. And when I hit enter, it's going to autofill it. I don't want it to autofill, but it does come up with 3. And again, you might look through, if you look through that number, remember we found 3 numbers that were between it, but this time we didn't have to look. Now I'm going to copy this down, but then I'm going to have to edit it. But before I copy it, what should I do with these range references? I have to put these dollar signs in, because if I copy down, this will not be A2, it'll be A3. So I'm losing a piece of data each time I copy it down a row. So I don't want the numbers to change. So I'm going to keep the row numbers the same by putting a dollar sign in here. And I'll do the same thing over here, dollar sign, dollar sign. Okay. Now it didn't change anything, but when I copy it, it's going to keep my data ranges. It's going to keep my data the exact range I want. It won't, otherwise it drops down. Again, how do I know this? Because I did it wrong the first few times and my numbers weren't looking right. Oh, I've got to freeze those. Okay, so and then when I copy it down, you're going to see, what's it going to do? It's going to be all 3s, because remember in the criteria, I don't want it there, so I'll delete that. In the criteria, it's all still 155 and 190, but what I can do now is just edit these numbers to match the lower and the upper class limits. Okay, so it's a little tedious. That's why I wish it would refer to the cells, and I could have done it that way, but it didn't work. So I have to come and change these 151 or 191 to 226, enter, and now it counted 2. So it's looking there, and now it's, as I change these criteria, it will, so this one is 227. And the upper is 262. So lower and upper, I'm just putting them in there. There's 5 in there. This one, I come up to the formula bar, I guess they call that, 263. To 298. And then again, this one I change 299. There was another video I saw that, at least with Excel, there's a more elegant way to do this, but I couldn't get it to work because you can do it as an array. It's a little beyond my pay grade, I'll say. But this one will work for me. Plus, it also emphasizes to me exactly where, what's happening, what I'm looking for, the 370. So I think it's actually better if a system does everything for you. Sometimes you don't learn it quite right. 371 and then to 406. And then I want to check to make sure I didn't make any errors. So I want to do a total. We can put an equal sign, and it even guessed sum. So look at this. It anticipated that I wanted to add this column together, and it gives me all of those. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I'll hit it. Yeah, I got 30. So I must have done all the formulas correctly. That's one way to check it. So far, so good. And that's the hardest part of this coding part. Now the rest gets pretty quick. Relative frequency, how did we do that? You take the frequency, so we put equals. We take the frequency divided by the total frequency. And remember, I'm going to copy this down. So I want this H9. I want it to remember. I don't want that to move when I copy it down. I do want the H2. I want that to change. It will go to H3, H4, H5. So I leave it as is. But for the H9, I'm putting that $sign in front of the 9 because I don't want that cell to move. You could put one in front of the H as well, but I'm not going side to side. I'm only going down. So that's the only thing I need to control. And I copy down now. And just like that, it's calculated all the relative frequencies. But isn't that kind of ugly with all these repeating decimals? I think so. Easy way to fix it. There's a little button up here. It says, let's make it formatted as a percent. Oh, that's much more beautiful. So now it's percentages. It's 2 decimal places, so we can format it. Perfect, right? Last thing we need to do, and we could do the sum. Actually, since this is a sum, watch, I could actually copy this over. It's going to do the same thing. It added together, and we got 100%. So a good way to check things. I don't want to do a sum here. Cumulative frequency, I do equals the first number. That's all we got. And then for the second one, what do? I go equals this number plus, wow, it even anticipated what I was going to do. But that's, so I'm adding the next one. Now, this one, actually, I'm not going to put any $signs because I do want it to increment. When I go down, I want it to add this cell here, which is J3. Anyway, I'll just do it. And you'll see it increments. So this one is taking J3 plus H4, it's over here. So it took 5 plus 5 is 10. Then it takes 16 plus 7. Wait. For this one is going to be, 10 plus 6 is 16. This one is 16 plus 7 is 23. So it's all working out. So again, you have to know what you're doing, but once you know sort of the pattern you want to do, these you can really set them up real quick. The last part, I'm going to zoom back out. So this is our frequency distribution, but I'm going to show you once it's set up in here, how easy it is to make a histogram. And then you can customize that histogram to be whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. For a histogram, what we do is we go to insert, and we're going to insert a chart. Oh, and it already guessed, it figured out what I wanted, but that's not really what I want. Oh, because I've got something selected. Let me undo this. Go back. How do I undo? Oh, here. I'm going to go back, which undoes the chart. I have this selected. I don't want it selected. So if I click outside there, now when I go to insert a chart, it gives me a blank to start with. Okay. I'm going to kind of get this out of the way. So the first thing is I do want a column chart. I have choices here, but what we do want is a column chart. What we need to do is what is our data range? And in this case, our data range is not the raw data. It will be the frequencies. So I'm going to come here and select the frequencies. Come on, one more. There we go. So H2 to H8. Okay. And as soon as I did that, we see it's got the frequencies over here. It's got these charts. It doesn't have an x-axis, so I don't know what these are, but I can add an x-axis. What do I want to put here in this x-axis? Well, we have our choices. We could put the lower class range or the upper class range or the midpoint. Okay. It doesn't really give us the option to do in between, but I'll go ahead and use the midpoint. So I'm going to, it keeps opening up there. I'm going to select the range from here to here. And look, all of a sudden now I've got some labels for each of my histograms. There's also a way to get them together. I'm not going to, let's see. I think that's it. We can customize it with we can put titles. So this was screen time. You can also chart and axis titles. You can also work on your horizontal axis. Vertical axis. Oh, that's okay. And again, there's some ways you can customize it. One thing that's kind of nice here is with your vertical axis. Remember, maybe I want to, instead of having the amounts here, maybe I want the percentages. The way you could do that is, oh, maybe I have to come back to setup. Is the data range. I could change it instead of being the frequency numbers. I could change it to be, get this out of the way, to being the relative frequencies. What happened? Oh, it's got two. Okay, I have to throw out the old one. I have to make the new one. Each axis. It was working better earlier. Select data range. Okay, the data range. Yeah, I want it to be I. Well, that's why what is going on? I'm not sure what I did wrong. Last time, all I did is change the data range, and it changed it over to percentages. I'll let you play with that one and see if you can get that to work. Looks like I have to start over. So what I can do is also just delete this and you could set it up. But you're supposed to be able to just change that from one to the other. I'll see if I can do that a little bit later. What I do want to also show is that we could have done a pie chart. So if we go to charts, oh, now it's going to do it for me. So yeah, so if you start over and you had the relative frequencies, notice it's got the relative frequencies. I could go add the bottom label there as well. Okay, so that was serendipitous. I'll leave that there, but now since I'm clicking outside here, let me insert a chart, a pie chart. I come here, pie charts are down here. There's all sorts of different ones you can do. Our data range, in this case, I'm going to select the relative frequencies because that's kind of what the pie chart is best at doing. And all of a sudden I've got a pie chart with percentages. You can add labels. The label I want to add is probably the midpoints again. So I want to do the class midpoints. Let's see if that works. Actually, I only want to go to G8. And again, when you do this, you probably want to get the chart out of the way so you can see your data. But notice it now has labels here for the midpoints and the percentages. Again, if you go to customize, you can actually put some titles in here. And then I think if you do a legend, which is it, pie chart, you can put slice labels. And notice it's got the midpoints in here. You could also do the percentage in each of those so that it's clear. Again, just depends on what this is, artistic freedom license. Do what you want to make this as beautiful as you want or whatever. Put your titles. You can then copy and paste this into a Word document and it's there. If your data gets updated, so does your charts. And again, you kind of want to move, once you're done with them, you can move these around, I think. Well, usually better when you have a mouse, but you can get these set up and move them around to where you need. But it's all based on getting that frequency distribution table first, and you can do all sorts of different graphs with it. And that's what we'll have you do towards the end. We'll do some projects using Google Sheets and occasionally bring this in. Any questions? Okay, good. I was recording. It's about 33 minutes. Once you finish your chart, what you want to do is you want to come to share. Click on this. Currently it's restricted, so you're not sharing with anybody. I'm not sharing with anybody. You want to change this to anyone with the link. Otherwise, I won't even be able to open it. You are the only one. So share it with anyone with the link. You copy the link. The link's been copied. And then you come back to Canvas. This, I think I have to change to student. Yeah, view as a student. The assignment, when viewed as a student, has a start assignment. This is where you will submit. So when you click on this, it says, give us the website URL. That's what we copied. So I'm just going to Control V. Notice it's pasted it in there. If I submit the assignment, I could put comments. Oh, this was a lot of fun. Whatever. Put a smiley face. You don't have to do that part. Submit it, because what this does is it puts it right into Canvas Gradebook with your name on it already, so you didn't even have to have your name on it. When I go into the gradebook, I'll see a little icon that says you did the activity. I can pull it up and look at it if I want, or I could just say, well, you must have done it. So, but that has just submitted the assignment. So we'll do this a couple different times when we're using Google Sheets. There'll be one set up. You go through the process, and this is how you submit it. and then now you're done. You won't see any effect on the grade, but what I do is every time I've got a separate category for extra credit. At the end, I'll see how much of the extra. So if you do 100% of the extra credit, you get a 2% added to your grade. You do 50% of the extra credit, you'll get 1% added to your grade, and somewhere in between. You do, so however much of it you end up doing. But I hope these will help you learn some of the tools and be beneficial for you. And you might even find that you could now use this tool to do some of the homework in maybe an easier way, right? Uh, so now we're done. That was only 2 minutes.